Hello everyone. Today, let's dive into a significant international news story involving tariffs and a legal dispute unfolding in the United States. Specifically, we'll be looking at how a U.S. Federal Appeals Court has temporarily reinstated retaliatory tariffs implemented by former President Donald Trump, despite a lower court previously blocking them. At the beginning of 2025, former President Trump issued orders imposing high tariffs on imports from various countries. He justified these tariffs as necessary responses to the fentanyl crisis, a synthetic opioid epidemic, and illegal immigration. Specifically, he imposed a 30% tariff on goods from China, 25% on certain products from Canada and Mexico, and a universal tariff of 10% on most other countries. Trump even threatened to raise these tariffs up to 50%, though he temporarily delayed this escalation by 90 days, hoping to bring countries to the negotiating table. This aggressive tariff policy immediately sparked intense controversy within the U.S. Critics worried about rising prices affecting American consumers and businesses, while supporters viewed these tariffs as necessary measures to protect national interests. Eventually, the matter landed in court, specifically at the U.S. Court of International Trade, CIT. What exactly is the CIT? The Court of International Trade is a specialized federal court located in New York, responsible for resolving disputes related to customs, tariffs, and international trade. In April 2025, several businesses and 12 states filed lawsuits against Trump in the CIT, arguing that he had exceeded his authority by imposing tariffs under an emergency law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. So, what is IEEPA, and why is it controversial? IEEPA is a 1977 law enacted during President Jimmy Carter's administration, intended to limit and oversee the emergency economic powers of the White House. It allows the U.S. President to impose economic measures in response to national emergencies. However, before Trump, IEEPA had never been used to impose broad tariffs. Historically, the law has mainly been utilized to freeze assets or impose financial sanctions against foreign individuals, organizations, or nations threatening U.S. national security. For example, President George W. Bush invoked IEEPA after 9/11 to freeze terrorist assets. President Obama used it in 2015 against foreign cyber attackers. And Trump himself previously applied IEEPA to sanction Venezuelan oil companies and Iranian officials. The controversy lies in the fact that the U.S. Constitution explicitly grants Congress the power to set tariffs. Congress may delegate limited tariff authority to the president under specific circumstances, but not unlimited authority as Trump exercised through IEEPA. This has led to a major dispute about whether the president indeed has such extensive powers. CIT's decision. On May 28, 2025, the CIT declared Trump's global tariffs illegal, ruling he had exceeded the authority granted by IEEPA. The court found these tariffs unrelated to the emergencies Trump cited fentanyl and immigration. Thus, CIT immediately blocked all these tariffs, including the 30% tariff on China, 25% on Canada and Mexico, and 10% on other countries. This ruling marked a significant victory for the plaintiffs. However, on the night of May 28, the Trump administration quickly appealed to the Federal Court of Appeals and requested a temporary halt to the CIT's decision, seeking to maintain the tariffs during the appeal process. Why did the appeals court temporarily reinstate the tariffs? In the U.S., the federal court system has three main levels: district courts, or specialized courts like CIT for trade issues, federal appeals courts, and ultimately the Supreme Court. Typically, an appeal doesn't immediately stop the lower court's ruling from taking effect. However, the appeals court can issue a stay to temporarily suspend a lower court's decision if the appealing party demonstrates potential irreparable harm or a strong chance of winning the appeal. The Trump administration argued that immediately removing tariffs, only to possibly reinstate them later, could cause major economic disruptions. Imagine thousands of containers worth billions of dollars suddenly exempt from tariffs for a short period, and then unexpectedly taxed again. Businesses and customs authorities would struggle to adjust. Thus, the administration requested keeping the tariffs in place until the legal battle concludes. Consequently, on May 29, The Federal Appeals Court agreed and temporarily reinstated the tariffs, allowing them to remain in effect during the appeal. This decision surprised many observers due to its swift action and the case's high stakes, economic, political, and international implications. Let's consider a small American company importing wine from Europe. With a 10% tariff, each 100,000 shipment incurs an extra 10,000. When CIT declared this tariff illegal on May 28, the company was relieved, thinking it would save significantly. Yet, just one day later, the appeals court's decision meant the tariffs remained, causing immediate financial strain and disrupting business plans. Similarly, a U.S. electronics company importing components from China typically pays around 5% in tariffs, but now faces a steep 35%, 5% original plus 30% new tariff. Such sudden shifts create uncertainty, forcing businesses to either raise prices or absorb losses. Maintaining these tariffs long-term could significantly raise prices for American consumers and disrupt supply chains, though certain domestic industries might benefit temporarily. If tariffs are ultimately abolished, the economy would stabilize, but the U.S. might lose a powerful negotiating tool. Politically, Trump supporters view blocking tariffs as obstructing presidential efforts to protect national interests. Opponents celebrate CIT's ruling as a defense of constitutional checks and balances. Congress may even consider revising laws to limit presidential tariff authority further. Legally, this battle is likely to reach the U.S. Supreme Court, whose decision would create a crucial precedent clarifying the balance between executive and legislative powers in trade policy. Internationally, countries like China, Mexico, and Canada closely monitor developments. Removing tariffs permanently would ease global trade tensions, but if tariffs remain, retaliation from affected nations is likely, possibly leading to cases at the World Trade Organization, WTO. Continuous U.S. policy shifts also risk damaging America's international credibility and market stability. This situation underscores fundamental American principles: separation of powers and adherence to the rule of law. Even a powerful president must act within constitutional limits. Economic policy decisions cannot rely solely on individual leadership, but must align with legal frameworks and broader economic interests. Thank you for joining us. We hope this has clarified the intricate legal, political, and economic issues surrounding Trump's tariffs and the recent court decisions. If you found this informative, please like, share, and subscribe to KnowSnap for more insightful videos. Goodbye, and see you next time.